can see you. And then Michelle, if you go ahead and share the slides. Oh, and I'll stop sharing. All right. Well, I am Cecilia Stanton Adams, CEO of Stanton Adams Consulting, and I'm so excited that you're here to join me for Honest Talks with Changemakers. I decided to create this show because I wanted to really have some honest conversations with folks. And when I went around and working with my different clients, my friends, the community, everybody was saying the same thing. They want an opportunity to just talk real talk, right? And so this is our opportunity to talk real talk. But I wanted to do it with the actual change makers, people that are out there doing the good work right now, that are actually challenging themselves through this period of great tension and upheaval for all of us. So I'm really excited to have Nick. But let's go to the next slide and let me tell you a little bit about my organization. So Stanton Adams Consulting was started in 2010 and we were established in 2013. That means our paperwork was done. So my wife and I really wanted to have a practice to be able to go out and work with organizations to prepare them for the future. And we did just that. And we changed along the way. We've adapted as our clients have grown in their work. And right now, it's definitely been a challenging time for lots of organizations, especially in the DEI space. You can go to the next slide now, Michelle. All right. So I do want to let you know a little bit about who's in the room with us. Well, of course, all of you lovely people, but I'm also joined by Olivia Husingfeld, who is my assistant. And if you've done anything with me, you know Olivia. She is also my second daughter. So I love that girl. She's awesome. Go ahead, give them a wave, Olivia.
Hi, everyone.
All right. And I also have with me Michelle Perdun, and she is a consultant and she's a fellow at Stanton Adams Consulting. So she might be teaching a future class of yours. So give them a wave, Michelle. Awesome. So Michelle is going to go ahead and manage the slides for me. And then Olivia is going to monitor the chat. So as we're going through chat, your reactions, what you're thinking, thumbs up, thumbs down, have that conversation with the folks that are in the room as we're having the conversation up here. So the next thing I want to share before we go into the actual conversation is I want to give you a hint on what I've been up to. And, if you watch me on LinkedIn, you haven't seen a few articles from me lately. And it's because I've been in the lab, really trying to figure out what's next for us. Because if we're committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion and all that it means, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. That's our true north. And so the truth is about how to get there, right? By any means necessary. That's why we do this work. And so, I not only looked at what are the outcomes that we really want around DEI, but also what are the outcomes that we want in a workplace in general. And, because of technology, everything that's happened, COVID, social upheaval, our workplaces have really lost that spark, that ability to help employees thrive in their workplace. And so I would like to really rejuvenate a new idea, a people first culture. And this, I'll be talking a lot more about this. You'll see articles, but y'all are the first ones that are really going to be hearing a little bit about this. So, a people first culture is a culture built on a foundation of clear values, aligned behaviors, and systems. And I know that should be every organization, right? Is it though? Right? Are the values really practiced throughout the organization? Are leaders held accountable? Right? If you're expected to be equitable and inclusive in all the work that you do, then at some point we need to be having a conversation about what that looks like and what's expected, self awareness and empathy. We used to think about these things as soft skills. Now they are business critical skills. You cannot move forward as an organization today without it. Communication. It's intentional. And a lot of times our organizations have gotten to the point where they're communicating down, but they're not getting anything coming up. They're not truly asking the folks that are doing the work, that are at the front lines, what are your experiences? Psychological safety. And that's not just like this frou-frou word that we came up with. It really means this is the way that you have to set up a situation in order for people to give their ideas, right? To tell you if maybe something's wrong, but you have to build that into the culture. And when you really set people up to succeed, the performance is going to follow. I promise you. If you can go to the next slide now, I'll tell you a little bit more about the drivers of a people first culture. And this is what you're going to see more of. I believe there are 5 drivers. And this is after doing lots of research on, what are the leadership models before and what do we really need today. And there are 5 core things that we need to make sure that every organization is built on. One, leading with integrity. Let's do what we say and say what we do. This is how we build trust, right? Not only with our people, but with the people that we interact with and that we serve. Build the right conditions. I love gardening, but let me tell you, you can't put a seed in just any old dirt, right? Some dirt is too silty, some dirt is too sandy. Sometimes you fertilize it too much. You have to have the right conditions. Are we spending enough time figuring out what the right conditions are for our employees? Empower our people to grow. One of the worst things I ever heard someone say is, we don't really want to develop them because then they might go somewhere else. They're just really good. We don't want to lose them. What? You're just guaranteed yourself that you're going to lose them, right? So how can you empower people to grow so they're not only doing well today, but they're prepared for tomorrow. They're growing towards the future of your organization. Create a culture of belonging, right? Everybody's different, everybody's unique, but under the roof of an organization, there should be this feeling of belonging, right? And that doesn't happen by chance, it's intentional. Lastly, future readiness. Are you adaptable? Are you agile? Are you able to bring in technology in a way that's going to give your organization efficiency, productivity, right? People first. Next slide, please. People first is what I want you all to be thinking about. So my last offer here that I want to share with y'all are 2 of the ways that we're starting to get this out there. We have the People First Culture Index. I will actually sit with you and a team of your folks, and we'll do the assessment. And together we can build your 2026 culture strategy so that is connected to the business and really creates that foundation that you need. I also have created Leadership by Design, which I'm running right now with a great group of folks. If you can go to the next slide. Leadership by Design is a 6-week program for managers to learn the really needed skills for being successful in today's workplace. And let me tell you, it's the managers that you want to start with because they're the ones that are at the front lines in terms of managing people, but they're also managing up, right? And you're expecting them to also have a full workload, right? So let's give them the skills that they need to be successful. So that's what we've got for you. Olivia is going to put in the chat how to contact me. And now for the part we've all been waiting for, let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. Love it, love it. Okay. Thank you, thank you. So, today I'm really excited to bring on Nick Alm. And you can read lots of great stuff about Nick's work, and we're going to talk about Nick's work. But what I want to share first is how I know Nick personally. In the LGBTQ community, we call this chosen family, right? And when we say chosen family, it means that sometimes we don't have the right folks in our families that are going to support us and love us, right? And take us under their wing. And so when we met Nick, my wife and I, we were like, oh, yes, we're your godparents. That's it. And that was it. It was just love at first sight. And, it's just been a great relationship the whole way through. And I've learned so much from you, my friend. Nick leads up Mosier Consulting. And one of the things that I really loved about, everything in your bio is that your purpose in life is to remind people of their power and support them in unlocking their most authentic and most glamorous selves. And I love that because you do bring out the glamour in me. And I know you can't see my full gown, but it is Halloween. And so I am doing the Hollywood glam for you now in honor of Nick, because you are just glamorous all the way. So we're going to talk a lot about your background as we go through. But first, I want to start with just an easy one.
Mm.
What what can we learn about you today that we wouldn't find on LinkedIn?
Oh my
Spill.
gosh. Oh my God. You want like the hot goss or you want like,
Yes. Oh yeah, no, spill it. Spill the tea.
well, the prepared answer was, and this is like my like two truths and a lie thing is like I'm a two-time Minnesota All-State violinist. That's my
What?
like, yeah, no one knows that. I
Oh
played
my
baseball
God.
for 12 years, which no one can believe because, I'm really fruity. But every time I tell people that I played baseball and I was a, triple A traveling baseball. Um, but what's something hot goss? Hot goss, let's see. Um, um,
You're like, I gotta spice something up.
I know. I'm like, and I put so much out there. I don't know. The hot goss is gosh, that I don't know. We'll think of something here.
Yes. Okay, we'll think of something along the way. All
Yeah.
right, so let's get a little serious and let's get into this a little bit. So you and I are both in the DEI space.
Hmm.
And you do so much work with organizations, helping them to create spaces of inclusion, and to really think a lot about, gender and how we can be more inclusive in that way. My focus has been more kind of more general diversity, and we kind of hit a big barrier, and
Mm.
it was one that we kind of saw coming, but also, can you really see this coming? It feels different when it hits. And I want to know, when did you first realize that the backlash against DEI this time was different? It was
Mm.
deeper, more personal. When did that
Yes.
happen for you?
Ooh. Okay. So the moment truly was when that plane collided with that helicopter over DC. I forget if that was January or February and the president of the United States says that diversity policies were the culprit of that crash that killed like 60 some people, I think. And that was, yeah, we knew. I mean, we were all bracing ourselves, but that was when I was like, oh, this is like a scorched earth. Like they're going full nuclear
Yeah,
on this, and we'll seize on any opportunity to just kind of grind us into the dust. And so I, yeah, that was when I was like, okay, we're in trouble.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, there's been so many awakenings along the way, and you and I have really gotten close over, the past year, really
Hmm.
just holding each other up, supporting each other through this really difficult time, and still being a light for other people. And that's really hard to do. And I think for many of us, there's this reckoning happening. And so my next question, I want to dig a little bit into that. And that's, yeah, there we go. Thank you. So what is one truth that you had to face in this climate? And I know there's many, but
Yeah.
what did you have to come to terms with right away?
Well, the thing that I've had to come to terms with is my own lack of effectiveness in the DEI space for the last 10 years and the ways that that contributed to I love when you're talking about soil and dirt because I think um, the DEI backlash that really, has occurred in the last 2 years was really they were seizing on an opportunity that and I think a lot of people in the DEI industry kind of set up where, we, in order to make money, I had to participate in this, what I call the organization's mission to lunch and learn their way to liberation,
Mm,
and
y'all know.
you know what I'm saying? And like, and it's hard because as a someone who runs their own business, you have to take all these different opportunities. But what I started to realize was a lot of the checks that were being written to me were for these, one-off efforts. Let's get everybody together for 90 minutes. Let's make everybody feel like they're being transformed.
Yeah.
Let's make everybody feel like the work is attending the training and not what happens after the training or what happens after the assessment or what happens after the coaching session. And um, I realized that in 2020, there were so many new people who joined the conversation. And then what we set up though was we stopped recruiting people. We kind of built up a big moat and a wall around the conversation, and we said, if you don't get it, if you can't use all the right words on day one, if you're not, you can't be at the table, basically. I think, I'm gonna say me, I think I got complacent with realizing that any movement has to be constantly bringing in new people. And I got comfortable with the fact that we had a lot of people in 2020. And I've had the truth that I realized is we started to lose people. And we didn't just lose people from the DEI space, but the people who weren't in DEI, they also moved to the right slowly.
Yeah.
So it was all of that coming together that was a hard truth to have to face in this new environment.
Yeah. Mm. That is hard. It is hard. Because I know for myself, I'm like, I did nothing wrong. I did all the things I was supposed to do. Y'all
Yeah.
wasn't listening. Y'all wasn't taking the notes. But it's true. It's like, our work is about bringing people together, and it has to be everyone. And there are groups of people that didn't feel included,
Yeah.
and coming to terms with that can be hard. But I think one of the things I really liked when you talk about this is this process kind of took you into this space, this dark space that you call the tunnel.
Mm.
Like it's you're leaving where you were, but you're not really where you're going yet, and you're in this tunnel. Um, what
Mm.
tell us a little bit about what that tunnel is like. And Michelle, I think you can go to yeah, there we go. We can
Yeah.
do that one.
Yeah, and I think if it's helpful for folks, I mean, tunnel is a word that I'm using these days. Liminal space is a word that I'm using. Um, Valerie Kaur, who's an amazing activist and author and speaker, and she was speaking after the 2016 election, and she said something, I might botch the quote a little bit, but she said, "What if the darkness that we are experiencing is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb?" Which,
Mm,
right?
what? Come on,
Yeah,
somebody react for me. Somebody hit that react button. Come on.
you know,
I love
I don't
that.
know. We've been in the dark for a long time. It's starting to feel like a tomb, but this tunnel, in May, I kind of snapped because I was experiencing so much pain from the cognitive dissonance of not being able to live out my values in this environment that DEI is now in, and just feeling like I'm not able to have the impact that I want to have. I'm not able to, this was in the run up to Pride Month where it's like, there was a large uptick in just, the number of people who are nitpicking every single word in my presentation, and we got to change the title, and we can't call it that, and don't say that, and this person, it just finally became too much. And I'm like, I am out of alignment, and it is causing me like psychic pain. Um, And so it was then I basically, kind of took the leap of saying, I'm going to start the process of unwinding what I've been doing for 10 years, um, sunsetting this business, and I could tell people like, like that I'm going to start another business or I'm going to do this or I'm going to get into coaching and leadership or whatever it is. And the truth is, I just don't know uh, what is next for me. And it's been 5 months of being in this tunnel, and it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. I keep trying to go back to my old self to try to like rebuild that, and then that
Yeah.
doesn't work. And then I'm like, I end up back in this like tunnel again of like, and there really is no other thing to do here but to just keep walking through it and to keep being in community. Everything that we've done in the last year, Cecilia, together, like just being with the people who remind me of who I am, and it's taking shape. It's not in August, September. I don't know if you knew this, but butterflies, they turn into a liquid in the cocoon before they become a butterfly.
Mm.
I was very butterfly soup, like July, August, September. It was just awful. But it's coming together, but I'm still in the tunnel and I don't know what's
Yeah.
next. And that's hard.
Yeah, that is hard. And I'm sure a lot of folks can relate in this room. And just you saying it out loud can be very affirming.
Yeah.
And Michelle, if we can go back to that last question there,
Mhm.
you know, we talk also about, earlier, like, what do you have to come to terms with? What are some of the things that you have to reckon with? So, what is one truth you had to face in this climate?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and can I'm reading Kristen's question in the chat.
Please.
And this is a great question. Curious about people who try to be included in DEI, but once folks were trying to help them be accountable in their learning, they would bristle and then leave, not wanting to stay included. And I think, yeah, I want to start. This is a great clarification, Kristen, because part of what led me to this truth of, that we're not being, that DEI wasn't being as inclusive as we weren't living out our values of inclusivity. There was one moment in particular when at one of my clients, we were doing this big, this was it was called a trauma symposium. And this was all about how this healthcare system was going to move towards becoming a level one trauma organization and they were exploring all of the like racial implications of that and the social justice implications of that. And they held this internal conference. The DEI department rolls up into the chief marketing officer. He's the oversees the DEI, and he is this amazing ally, just really great listener. Everything we want the straight men to be, just really like compassionate, really like knows what they don't know. And I'm sitting at his table at this event,
Mhm.
and we just start chatting. And he, I can tell he's about to say something a little deep, and he goes, "Yeah, Nick, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be here today."
Hmm.
Right? And I was like, I was like, "What do you mean? Like you being here as the chief marketing officer, everyone's sitting up a little bit straighter, everyone's taking this a little bit more seriously because you're in the room." And he's
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, I didn't want to take up space. I wasn't sure, like, as a white man, if it was appropriate for me to be here. I don't want to, ask a stupid question." And that was the moment when I knew that we have the wall is too high.
Hmm.
Now, there are certainly people who are not and do not want to be, or they maybe pretended to try to be in the DEI thing, and then they did get held accountable, and then they left. And I'm not talking about those people. We
Yeah.
for culture change to happen, you really only need about 30% of people to be on board, and that movable middle, there's a lot of neutral people in our organizations who just it's not that they don't like DEI, it's not that they like DEI. They just don't see how it's relevant for them.
Yeah.
And it's those people that we need to win over to get to move this forward. That those laggards, that 30%, I'm not interested. That's a truth I've had to face is it is um, those people will burn up all your energy and they want you to chase them. And you don't need to chase them in order to win. So,
Huh.
yeah.
Yeah. I knew there was more on this one. All right.
Mhm.
We
Let's
do
go.
have a question from chat. Cecilia, do you want
Yeah.
to save those all to the end or keep them relevant to like the part of the discussion?
Oh, you can give us one now if there's one that's relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, so Kristen wrote in chat, I'm curious about the statement about people who didn't feel included. That can be true, and I'm wondering about the people who tried to be included in the DEI space, but once folks were trying to help them be accountable in their learning, they would bristle and then leave, not wanting to stay included.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you were saying. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the thing I want to add to that is there's a difference between being right and being effective. And
Mhm.
that's not my line. That's Beth
Right.
Semsky, who's a mentor. You know, it's like there's that, especially as like a younger person, when you come from like maybe a community organizing or an activist space, and then you move into the organizational development space and you start playing the inside game. Um, there is, yeah, there. I think I don't know, Kristen. I'm not saying this is you, but I think some of us. I think we need to interrogate what it means to hold people accountable in this space. Because I think a
Mm,
lot of what accountability has looked like has been, you know, um, correcting people and shaming them in a way that makes them not want to come back. Um, and so having spaces where, people are given information in a developmentally appropriate way. There is a spectrum to this, which we can get into, and Cecilia, you know that spectrum really well. Um, but yeah, I think we wrote people off too soon, and we forgot. I forgot. Look, I didn't. I come from Stillwater, Minnesota. Okay, there was two black people in a class of 700 where I come from. Like, I don't want y'all to see my text message chains from when I was a high school student. I really don't. Like, I did not show up to this conversation magically woke, magically politically correct. I went through a whole, and I think we forget as DEI people that we also were the problematic people and still are today in a lot of ways. Like, no one's ever done with
mm,
it. And so
yes.
it's not seeing people as redeemable, not seeing people as capable of growth because we don't see ourselves as being redeemable or capable of growth. And I think that's the bigger issue here.
Mm, so many truths.
Yeah.
All right, I love it. Let's get a little bit deeper because I think as you're going through all of this, there's got to be a lot of fear.
hmm
And I'm curious, how do you move through that? How do you experience it and how do you not let it paralyze you?
So yeah, I am not moving through fear. I am leveraging fear.
Mm, let me write that down.
Yeah. I yeah, this is a newer realization that fear is not the problem.
Mm,
Fear is actually an essential ingredient to courage. It's an essential ingredient to leadership. And without it, this is why we had so much performativity, Cecilia, in the last 5 years. You know this so well. People knew what their values were. We said we value DEI, right? We were taking action related to those values, but there was no risk involved. There wasn't any fear involved. There wasn't we weren't challenging power in a serious way. So we were doing the employee resource groups, we were doing the trainings, we were doing the assessments, but no one was risking anything
mm,
financially, in terms of power, in terms of all of that. And so we didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fear is essential. And so when I get scared, it's like, thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
in the moment, it's not like thank you, but I mean, I'm trying to train myself to see fear as like, okay, you're on the cusp of something now. Like you found the edge,
Yeah.
and it is contagious when you practice courage and leverage fear in that way. People see it and they light up. They're like, wait a minute, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because everyone's our go-to is just to go around it, go under it, go above the fear. And I've tried all the strategies. It doesn't work.
Yeah. And Michelle, hold on the question real quick because I didn't tell you about this question, but I would love for you to share it because I think it's a good example of what you're talking
Mm.
about, like as an ally, like we want to be good allies, but we don't risk much of anything. But right after George Floyd's murder, there was a situation at a protest, and I mean, it's when you told me the story, it just sent chills through me. So, would you mind sharing that with the
Yeah.
folks?
Yeah, I've come back to the story a lot. Um, because I was like, when did I experience real courage? And so I lived about 100 feet from where George Floyd was murdered in 2020. And one night there was a peaceful protest going on. There was about 300 people out there, and the whole energy in the room changes when about 15 police cars start coming down Chicago Avenue in a blatant attempt to intimidate the crowd into dispersing. And then I start to panic, and someone in the crowd starts yelling out, "White people to the front!" And I'm like, "Oh shit, that's me. Uh-oh." And my nervous system starts like cycling through the options, fight, flight, freeze. And I'm about to freeze. And then I hear, "White people to the front." And somebody links arms with me and starts marching me to the front of the crowd. And I'm like, I have about 2 seconds. I'm like, it's not too late. I can get out of here. I can go write another Facebook post, another self-righteous Facebook post about white supremacy and, make that my work. But then I was at the front of the line, and I'm arm in arm with 40 other white people, and most of them are screaming and thrashing at the police. And I am just there, like nailed to the present moment. And the fear was so intense. This is going to sound nuts. I could see the fear. Like it was almost like fear took on a liquid state, and
Mm,
and then in that sea of fear, I watched this other thing start to rise up next to it, and it's courage. Like deep fear and deep courage simultaneously. And you talk about the glamour of the soul. It was like being unzipped, and the light of your soul was coming forward in that moment. And I was like, oh, this is courage. This is allyship. This is what it means to be in fear, to take a risk. In this case, to put, my comfort and personal safety on the line in service of another group of people. And in this
yes.
case, it was making sure the majority Black crowd didn't get shot, which, there was a lot of fear that things were going to escalate. And that uh, we ended up de-escalating that situation, and nothing happened that night. And that experience has been my North Star of like, okay, like that is what I am getting to. And I never would have gone to the front of the line if that person hadn't linked arms with me, and that's why the big part of courage too, it's values, it's action, it's fear. And then the fourth piece is community.
Yeah.
You need people to
Yeah.
point you back in the direction of who you are. And
Mm,
you need people to link arms with you. So yeah, I'm not living like that every day, but I am trying to, yeah, I'm trying to
seeing that.
keep all that in mind.
Where are my tissues, y'all?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, hold on a minute. Michelle, write down that I have to make sure I have tissues nearby because I mean, I've heard it. I've heard the
Yeah.
story before. Um, but what really touches me as a woman of color is hearing that from a white person,
Yeah.
right? And the fact that you are willing to risk something, like, that's an ally.
Yeah.
And you never call yourself an ally, which is another important thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't call yourself an ally. You let other people, be able to recognize that in you. And you are such a true ally. And I think the other beautiful part of this is that you have your own identity that is constantly in the crosshairs of, society, and yet and still you ally for other communities. And,
Mm.
and that's a great example for all of us, no matter what, if we identify as someone of color or, someone, that's part of a marginalized community. It's as important for you to stand up for yourself as it is to stand for others,
Right.
especially in this time.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one, because I think that kind of takes us to this place where I know I end up, and probably many of you. You're in a situation, and now it could cost you, right, to actually stand on business, especially
Mm.
right now. So how do you stay true to your values when it can cost you something?
So you are true to your values when it costs you something. It's not so, right? We have values and we have core values. And the research says that really the best leaders only have one or two core values. And what makes core values core is you have to give something up to make those values core,
Mm,
right? So my one of my core, so my two are authenticity and interdependence. And authenticity for me, um, I'll talk about, in this current environment, like wearing dresses in public. Very big piece of authenticity for me. Very scary though. And when I prioritize the comfort of other people or prioritize my own comfort over that authenticity, I'm not living into my values. It's only a value because it costs something to put on that dress, and I do it anyway. So if you feel like you're about to lose something or you're about to give something up, again, great sign. It's a great
yeah,
piece of information, and I believe that whatever is true and whatever is real for you will be left standing after you say the thing or do the thing or make whatever choice it is that you feel like is going to cost you something. If you feel like it's going to cost you something, that like congratulations, like you are now you're at the front now,
yeah,
at the front of the line. And um, we have, I think, dozens of opportunities every single day to start to, in very small ways, practice putting something on the line.
yeah,
It's as simple as, saying no. It's as simple as, no, I am going to speak my mind respectfully in this situation. It's as simple as, um, I'm not going to think those thoughts anymore that I know are not, there's so many opportunities that we have. And that protest story is a dramatic example, but there were hundreds of courage, much smaller courage moments where I was building the muscle so that a moment like that was possible. It,
wow,
and we would need a whole nother podcast for that. But and there was a lot of times when I missed the mark,
yeah,
where I knew something was going to cost me something, and then I didn't say anything. When I found out they were doing business with anti-LGBTQ hate groups, and I didn't speak up. So it was all those moments too of, in that case, it was, yeah, a $15,000 contract. I was like, oh, this could cost me something to speak up. And I didn't do it. And I don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
Um, and I've missed the mark enough times where I know that the real cost is not taking the risk.
Yes. Hmm. And what you get on the other side, that's the result of courage.
It's a
Um,
result.
yeah.
You got to be willing to like blow it up
Yes.
many times.
Oh yeah, we might get blown up a few times.
Yeah.
We
I'm
might
saying,
not choose, but anywho, that's another show.
yeah, yeah.
But okay, so next question, because I know a lot of folks here work for organizations and you're like, oh my gosh, could you just come and speak to my leadership team? Like
Mm.
how do we kind of move things forward? So if you can get to the next question, where can leaders of organizations be more courageous today?
Yes. So so I'll use a tangible example. I think this is Brene Brown's statistics, but only about 10% of organizations have operationalized their core values
Hmm.
with behaviors that can be measured on performance reviews, so the more common situation is a company says, we value inclusion. Um, but they don't say, okay, being living out that value of inclusion, what that looks like is we are going to have this percentage of people demographically at each stage of our hiring process. Um, People choosing not to speak up during meetings for fear of discomfort is that is us not living out our value of inclusion. These words like respect, integrity, they need more definition of what they look like day to day. Because once you have that figured out, then that's easy then for you to bring in Cecilia or somebody to then train those people on how do we practice those behaviors.
Yeah.
Um, so if you don't know your values, if you don't have actions that are specific that are connected to them, and people aren't practicing those in the face of risk because you know, culture change is risky. Inclusion is risky. Um, it all starts with values, and that's why I was so happy to see that, you've always, I mean, made values kind of a core tenet, but this model that you're putting out for people, the fact that it's starting with values, it seems cheesy and like a buzzword at a certain point, but that's because so many people mess it up and don't take it seriously, but it's the birthplace of all of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's what grounds you. It
Yeah.
serves as your compass. Mm, you're such an inspiration. Like I've been so down and depressed like for the past, me. You're like, okay, I'm doing a wellness check. How you doing? Did you get out of bed today? And whenever I see you, you're just like so happy and optimistic. And I remember one day I was like, why are you so happy? Um, but it really is infectious. And I love that. And I know that adds to the resilience that you bring to all of the things that we're going through right now.
Well, and it's part of my political strategy is to experience joy and love. Like
Yeah.
it's not, and it's not, I try not to be like a toxic positive, Karen about it. Um, that joy is cultivated through a deep intimacy with the fear and the hate that we're experiencing and deciding that the risky thing, the brave thing to do right now is to feel good.
Mm, wow. Write
Yeah.
that down, y'all.
Yeah.
Put it up. We need to, I feel like it's back. We got to get back to basics
Back to
to
basics.
ground ourselves, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's lighten it up with the lightning round. I got 5 questions for you. Let's see. What's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard someone say about DEI?
That businesses will do DEI because it's good for their bottom line.
Yes, yes. Okay, great. What's your go-to comfort food after a tough day of changing the world?
Okay, beef pho from Indochin in Matt Groveland, or their orange chicken. Check them
Mm,
out. I mean, oh yeah, any
nice.
pho, any noodle soup.
Oh, that's making me want my dinner now. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you weren't doing this work, what totally different job would you be doing?
I would be a blackjack dealer at a casino.
Yes.
I can't describe how much I would just kill that job and how much fun I would have. I think blackjack tables are like microcosms of life itself. It's a whole nother
Oh,
podcast. But
wow.
yeah,
Wow. We might have to unpack that one day.
yeah.
Okay, if courage had a soundtrack, what song instantly gets you in the zone?
So I gave a big talk on Wednesday, and the song was "I Am, I Said" by Neil Diamond.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's
I'm gonna have to play that.
it's a karaoke. I'm doing it next time.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Line you up. You're number three. I'm doing one and two.
Okay, good.
Okay. Then Olivia, then Michelle. We're all karaokeers. Quilted Club. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So we got one more here. Hold on 1 second. If you could put one message on a billboard for every DEI practitioner right now. Oh my God, that was so great. And we were driving by, what would that billboard say?
Let yourself break.
Mm, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Then folks is gonna have to pull over and be like, I
Pull
really
over.
need to
So
think
yeah,
about
that's what it really says is pull over.
this. And you'll have your little stand set up, like just come on over,
Come
have
on
a
over.
seat. And
Right.
yeah, I love that. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be that strength for everyone. It's okay to break. Mm,
The break, you need the breakthrough. Before the breakthrough, you have to break down.
yeah.
You got like we're pushing. This isn't a push forward moment. This is a dig down moment.
Yes.
And because the push forward moment's coming. I mean, there's gonna be a moment, and we need to be ready for that moment. And
Yeah.
don't be so burnt out that when it's time to push, you've been pushing a wall for so long that you're not useful to the revolution or the whatever the thing is.
That's why Black women say we resting, because we
I
know we
That
resting.
was radical.
And the white folks got it down though. Like the protest. Oh my gosh. I am so proud. But yes, like the black women, we coming. We coming. You know when we come, we gonna be fierce. We don't
I
play.
you don't want to you yeah they hate to see you coming at this point because it's nobody nobody was meant to lead from the front every single day 24/7.
Yeah.
We have to take turns, and so I think a lot of people in DEI, it's like if you've been at the front and you've been there, and like
Yeah.
this is your chance to break down, step back, and let other people come forward. Trust that there's other people who will come forward.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to have some time for questions. So I know I kind of took up all your time with questions, but I know there's probably some in the audience. So Olivia, let me know if there's any comments you want to share or questions that came up.
There's nothing in the chat right now. I'll give people a second to think and add to the chat if they
Perfect.
like. But one thing I just wanted to say, Nick, when you were talking about this like protest story and the person linking arms with you, it reminds me of a podcast I was listening to a couple weeks ago that actually Cecilia's daughter Celicia sent to me that was with like organizers Kelly Hayes and Miriam Kaba. And one thing Miriam Kaba was talking about was like I mean she was saying that people, most of us are not actually brave. And she was talking about how there's a lot of pressure in these movements about like, doing these big, bold actions, but in a very like individualist. And then sometimes it can also be like really, shaming people if you're not doing this big thing all the time or whatever. And she was just talking about how like individually we're not brave. Like expecting people as individuals to go out and do these big things, it's just not going to happen. But when we're in, like in a protest where there's, dozens of hundreds of other people, sometimes the way like it's easy, we can access bravery, we can access courage. And so I really liked what you were pulling out there of like how really having other people that were like helping, it's like mutually beneficial in terms of everybody's courage is going up in those instances.
Mm.
I love that because Nick, that's what you've been saying, that community aspect, that there's a piece there. And I love that. It really is a strength in coming together.
Well, and this is something that I want to research more about this. This is so good you're bringing it up, Olivia, just because we are culturally a Christian nation. And part of what has seeped into our activism is the idea that everyone needs to be like the Jesus Christ of the movement. Like you're not really doing it unless you are like on the cross, sacrificing everything. And that I've had to interrogate that in
Mm.
myself a lot to be like, no, we're not looking for that. That is not a way to build something, is if you have this sacrificial lamb mentality. Um, but yeah, it's other countries, I'm starting to realize, other like activists in other countries, they pointed that out about our activism. And so it's something I want to research more. But
Yeah. Oh, because when you think about like Rosa Parks, it wasn't her just alone saying, "Hey, I'm going to do that." I mean, that was orchestrated, and there were a lot of people behind that to make that happen and to really follow up with the protests that they did. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. So there's so much more to come from Nick. So if you could flip it to the next slide, and couple minutes, Nick. Anything you want folks to know about how to reach out to you, and what you can do for folks.
yeah, if this courage and risk and if this courage thing is resonating with you, I'd love to talk. I'm not as far as Cecilia right now in the sense of I've got my framework, I've got my modules and my new trainings that are built around this courageous leadership program. And so if you want to be the first to get a glimpse into that, I'd love to show it to you. Um, so yeah, I'm just looking for good people right now who want to do something different and innovative and take risks together and grow together. Because I don't feel like I have all the answers. I feel like I have some good ideas, but I want to learn and grow in community with all of you is what I want to do.
Um,
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nick, for coming on the show. This has been amazing. I always learn so much, and I'm gonna be just like feeling so good the rest of the day because of our conversation. And
Yes.
yeah, can't wait to see you next week. Love
Oh,
you.
love you. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Michelle and Olivia, for all your help.
Yes, thank you, Olivia and Michelle, and thank you all for coming. We do have the recording, and we can share that out